Emily stood in the living room, where the light from the window illuminated the shattered pieces of a life she had painstakingly built over the past 14 years. Suddenly, a soft clink from the kitchen broke the silence, reminding her of David, the husband she once loved. But now, his presence felt like a nightmare she couldn't escape. "You want a divorce?" she had asked, her voice trembling yet resolute. "And you want half of everything I own?" Her question hit like a jolt of electricity, making the air in the room feel suffocating. David, with his cold demeanor, was no longer the man she had known. He stood there, arms crossed, his gaze filled with defiance. "That's right. 17 years together can't just be a game. Do you think you can build everything on your own without me?" Emily felt a heavy stone crushing her chest. She had dedicated her youth to supporting David through his most challenging times when he didn't have legal papers to work. She had sacrificed, worked tirelessly to pay the rent, cover living expenses, while he stayed home, doing nothing. "But you did nothing." "I endured everything alone during this time," she nearly shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. The atmosphere in the room froze, and Emily felt anger and sorrow welling up inside her. She couldn't believe that the man she had devoted her life to could say such words. Memories of cooking for him, caring for him when he was sick, and the dreams they once shared now felt like shattered pieces that could never be put back together. "You can't keep living in the illusion that everything will always be fine," David said, his tone growing colder. "You've worked hard, but you can't deny that we've been through so much together. Do you want to share what you have with me?" Emily felt as if her heart was being torn apart. She had once thought that love could overcome any challenge. But now she realized that love couldn't replace fairness. "I gave you everything, David. Now you want to take away what I've built," she asked, her voice trembling. "Don't tell me you think you have the right to do that." David didn't respond, standing in silence, as if waiting for some reaction. Emily felt she was standing on the edge of an unavoidable battle. She had imagined a happy life beside this man, but everything had changed. She couldn't let him take away what she had worked so hard for. Fear and anger consumed her mind. She not only had to face losing her husband but also had to fight to protect what she had created. "If you want a divorce, then let's do it fairly," she said, determination in her voice. "But I won't let you take away what I've earned." Her words felt like a declaration, and in that moment, Emily felt a new strength rising within her. She was no longer the weak, fearful woman David had once known. She would not allow him to continue manipulating her life. She would fight for herself, for the dreams she had invested so much effort into building. As the evening light began to fade, Emily knew that this battle was just beginning. She would not only have to confront David but also face her own fears and anxieties about the future. But one thing was certain, she would not back down. Her rights and fairness would be defended, no matter how difficult it would be. And in that moment, as darkness began to envelop the house, Emily felt as if she had found light amid the chaos. She would not just be a victim in this story, she would be the one to write her own destiny. After the tense confrontation with David, Emily felt as if she had just stepped out of a storm. She sat on the sofa, the warm yellow light from the ceiling lamp illuminating her tear-streaked face. She couldn't believe how bad things had gotten. Feelings of helplessness and anxiety surged within her, but inside, a flicker of determination began to ignite. She would not let David take away what she had worked so hard to build. "Maybe I need to learn more about the law," Emily told herself, deciding to get up and head to her desk. She opened her computer, feeling both anxious and hopeful. She began searching for information about women's rights in marriage, about how to divide assets in a divorce. Every piece of information she found felt like a building block for her plan. But while she was engrossed in legal information, her phone rang. It was Jessica, her best friend. "Emily, are you okay?" Jessica asked, her voice filled with concern. "I heard about what happened with you and David. Do you need help?" Thanks, Jess, Emily replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Things are really tough right now, but I won't let him take away what I've built. I'm looking into the law. You know, I have a friend who's a lawyer. Maybe you should meet him. He can help you understand more about your situation, Jessica suggested. Emily felt a little relief at that suggestion. Thank you, Jess. I'll think about it. They chatted for a while longer before ending the call. Emily felt strengthened by her friend's support. But she also knew that beyond the legal challenges, she would have to face opposition from David and even from his family. The next day, when Emily arrived at the law office that Jessica had recommended, she felt nervous and apprehensive. The office was located in a luxurious building, adorned with artistic paintings on the walls and an air of seriousness. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself before stepping inside. Mark, the lawyer, was a middle-aged man with a friendly smile who welcomed her. Hello, Emily. It's great to meet you. Jessica told me about your situation. Please, tell me what happened, he said. His gaze sincere and attentive. After recounting her story, Emily felt as if a weight had been lifted. Mark explained her rights, what needed to be done to protect her assets, and the possibilities she might face. You have the right to request a fair division of assets, and if David disagrees, we can take the case to court, he said. But what if he opposes? Emily asked, feeling anxious. I don't want things to get any more tense. That's a possibility. But you need to remember that this is your right. You can't let someone take away what you've earned. Mark asserted. His words felt like a soothing balm, yet they also made her feel heavier with the responsibility she had to bear. As she left the lawyer's office, Emily felt as if she had stepped into a new battle. She knew David would not accept this easily. He had always been the one in control in their relationship. And now that she was beginning to stand up for herself, she might face strong resistance. And just as she had predicted, when Emily returned home, David was waiting for her. Where have you been? He asked, his tone suspicious. I met with a lawyer, Emily replied, determined not to let her emotions take over. I'm looking into my rights. David scoffed, his eyes filled with derision. A lawyer? Do you really think someone like you can win this battle? You have nothing but wild dreams. I have my rights, David. I can't let you take away what I've built, she said, her voice more resolute than ever. Do you really think you can fight me? You're only going to make things worse, he retorted, his cold voice making her feel as if a chill had swept through the room. Emily felt anger boiling inside her. I won't let you continue to manipulate me. I've endured enough. She could no longer hold back, her emotions surged like a roaring wave. David looked at her, his anger becoming increasingly evident. You don't know what you're doing. If you want a divorce, you'll pay for that decision. Whatever the cost. I just want to live my life without fearing you anymore, Emily replied, feeling as if she were standing on the edge of a precipice, but this time, it wasn't a precipice of collapse. It was a precipice of freedom. This confrontation was not just about assets or rights, it was a battle between control and freedom, between fear and strength. Emily knew the path ahead would not be easy, but she was determined not to back down. She would fight for herself, for the dreams she had invested so much effort into building. As the lights in the house began to dim, Emily felt a new strength rising within her. She would not just be a victim in this story, she would be the one to write her own destiny. This battle had only just begun, and she would not let anyone stand in her way. Everything seemed to be falling into place for Emily. She had met with lawyer Mark several times, thoroughly researching her rights and preparing for the legal battle against David. But deep down, she still felt anxious, like a storm quietly brewing within her. She knew David would not give up easily. And she could not have anticipated that this fight would lead her to a crossroads she could never have imagined. One evening, as Emily sat in her home office, poring over legal documents, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from David. "We need to talk. There's something important." A shiver ran down her spine. Despite having mentally prepared for every possible scenario, this invitation still made her uneasy. She replied, "I don't want to talk to you. If you have something to say it to my lawyer." "Don't be like that, Emily. Just meet me once. Just this one time. I promise nothing bad will happen," David responded. She hesitated, feeling a part of her wanting to hear him out, but the other part remained cautious. Finally, she decided to meet David. But only in a public place. They agreed to meet at a small cafe where she often went to relax. As she walked into the cafe, Emily felt her heart racing. She spotted David sitting in a corner, his expression tense and serious. He looked nothing like the husband she once loved. He seemed like a stranger she could no longer understand. "Thank you for coming," David said, his voice low and heavy. "I know you didn't want to meet me, but there are some things I need to say." "You can say them quickly." "I don't have much time," Emily replied, trying to maintain her composure. David took a deep breath, his eyes scanning her face as if searching for something. "I don't want a divorce. You know that. I was wrong. I didn't appreciate what you've done for us." Emily felt a wave of emotions crash over her. "But you said you wanted to end things. You pushed me into this situation," she countered, her voice rising with pain. "I know. But I didn't think things would get this bad. I can't lose you. I can't lose what we've built," David said, his voice beginning to weaken. "Then why didn't you change before? Why did you let things go this far?" she asked, her heart racing as she felt the weight of his words. David stepped closer, his gaze pleading. "Give me another chance. We can start over. I promise I won't make you suffer anymore." Emily felt a tornado of emotions swirling inside her. David's promises felt like a trap. Yet they also held a glimmer of hope. She wanted to believe him, but fear held her back. "But can you really change? Or are these just empty words?" she questioned, her voice wavering. "I would do anything to keep you by my side." "I don't want to lose you," David insisted, his eyes sincere. But deep down, Emily felt an unshakable doubt. She looked directly into his eyes, wondering if she could trust his words. "If you really want to change, why didn't you do it before? Why did you let everything go so far?" she pressed, her voice growing stronger. David took a step back, as if her words had struck him. "I was wrong. I didn't know how to appreciate you. But now I realize. I need you." Emily felt a surge of anger rising within her. "You can't just say these things and expect everything to go back to how it was. I've suffered for too long." She stood up, feeling like she was about to lose control. David reached out, but she stepped back. "Don't touch me. I can't trust you anymore." She felt like a wild animal cornered, and now she had to fight for her freedom. "You won't regret leaving me, Emily." "I won't let you go without a fight," David said, his voice becoming stronger, as if he was gearing up for a battle she never wanted. Emily felt everything around her crumbling. She had to make the hardest decision of her life. Could she trust David's promises, or should she continue on her path, knowing it would lead to an unavoidable conflict? She looked out the window, where the evening sunlight was fading. She remembered the beautiful memories, the dreams they had once shared. But now, all that remained was pain and disappointment. "I can't live in a relationship without trust," she said, her voice firm. David stood still, his eyes filled with desperation. "You'll regret it. I won't let you leave easily." Emily felt her heart being torn apart. "I don't regret my decision. I won't let you continue to control my life. I will fight for myself." And in that moment, as the truth became clear, Emily knew she had made the right decision. She would not go back, would not let David manipulate her life any longer. She would stand up and fight for her future. For the dreams she had once abandoned. As she left the cafe, filled with determination, Emily felt like a bird finally freed from its cage. She didn't know what the future held. But one thing was certain, she would never look back. This battle had only just begun, and she would be the one to write her own destiny. As Emily stepped out of the cafe, the cold air outside felt like a reminder of the battle she had just decided to engage in. Her heart raced with every step, each beat sounding like a drum urging her forward but also filled with anxiety. She had stood up for herself, but the road ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty. David was still sitting in the cafe, his eyes filled with despair and anger. She couldn't shake the image from her mind, nor could she forget the words he had said. "I won't let you go easily." Those words echoed in her thoughts, like a promise laced with threat. She had to prepare for everything, for a fight not just against David but also against herself. On her way home, each step felt heavy. She recalled the beautiful memories, the happy moments they had shared. But now, all that remained was pain and betrayal. She wondered if she could truly forget the past and start anew. Did she have the strength to face the challenges ahead? When she arrived home, Emily opened the door and felt a cold breeze sweep in. She stood in the familiar room, where memories lingered. Everything was as it had been, but she was different. No longer was she the weak, submissive woman hiding in David's shadow. She had decided to step into the light, but fear still clung to her. She sat down on the sofa, her hands trembling. She took her phone out, staring at the screen filled with messages from David. The promises, the apologies. She didn't know whether to respond or not. Maybe I should block his number, she thought, but a part of her felt unable to do so. Did she still hold on to the hope that David could change? Or was it simply that she couldn't let go of a part of her past? Suddenly, a knock on the door startled her, making her jump. She stood up, her heart pounding. Who was outside? She didn't want to see David, but she couldn't ignore her curiosity. She opened the door to find Jessica, her best friend, standing there with a worried expression. "Emily. I've been so worried about you. I know you met David. Is everything okay?" Jessica asked, her eyes full of concern. Emily gave a weak smile, but the heavy feeling in her chest was impossible to hide. "I don't know, Jess. Everything is so hard." She invited Jessica in, and the two sat down at the table. "You've made a decision, right? You won't go back to him?" Jessica asked, her tone resolute. "Yes, but I can't stop thinking about what happened. I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads," Emily sighed, emotions welling up inside her. "Will I have the strength to move on? Can I live without David?" Jessica took Emily's hand, her gaze filled with encouragement. "You're stronger than you think. You've overcome so much already. Don't let the memories pull you down. You deserve a better life." Those words felt like a glimmer of light in the darkness, but Emily still felt the anxiety that wouldn't fade. But what if David never changes? What if he keeps trying to pull me back? Jessica fell silent, as if contemplating that question. "That's something you have to decide. You can choose to live for yourself or continue living in his shadow. Just remember, you're not alone. I'll always be here for you." Emily felt warmth spread through her at those words. But deep down, she still felt like she was standing on the edge. She had decided not to go back, but would she have the strength to uphold that decision? Could she face David when he would not stop trying to control her life? When Jessica left, Emily sat alone in the quiet room. Everything around her was familiar, but her mind was filled with questions. She looked out the window, where the bright moonlight shone, a reminder of the dreams and hopes she had once abandoned. Can I find light in this darkness? She wondered, feeling like a bird flapping its wings in a cage. She knew the battle was not over, and the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. But one thing was certain. She would not let anyone else dictate her fate again. And amid her swirling thoughts, one question lingered in her mind: is freedom truly worth the price of painful memories? She didn't know the answer, but one thing was for sure: her journey had only just begun. Emily sat by the window, the moonlight casting shimmering shadows on the floor through the glass. She gazed at the dewdrops clinging to the leaves outside, feeling the stillness of the late night. Her mind was still swirling with thoughts about her encounter with David, the promises made, and the painful memories. With each passing moment, she felt as if she were standing on the edge of an important decision, a turning point that could change her life forever. She had once believed that love could overcome all obstacles, that apologies could erase all wounds. But now, after everything she had been through, Emily understood that love was not just about forgiveness. It was also about self-respect. About recognizing when to let go in order to move forward freely. As the moonlight began to fade, she recalled the happy moments she had shared with David, but she could not forget the tears. The long lonely nights, and the pain he had brought into her life. I can't keep living in the past, Emily told herself. I need to learn how to love myself first. She stood up and walked over to her desk, where an old notebook lay that she often used to jot down her thoughts and feelings. She opened the first page, filled with her scribbled dreams and hopes. She had once dreamed of a happy life with David, but now she realized that happiness could not be built on a foundation of fear and hurt. Maybe it's time for me to forgive, she whispered to herself, feeling as if a heavy stone was gradually being lifted from her heart. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting or accepting what had happened. It meant allowing herself to be freed from the burden of pain. She didn't need to hold on to the painful memories like chains binding her soul. Emily picked up a pen and wrote the first lines. I forgive David, not for him, but for me. I deserve to be free. Each word she wrote felt like a step on the path to healing, a promise to herself that she would not let the past control her future. As she finished writing, she felt lighter than ever. She was no longer the weak woman cowering in David's shadow. She had found strength within herself, the strength to rise and move on. I will not go back, she reminded herself. I will live for myself. She decided that she would not only forgive David but also take the time to love herself. She would explore the hobbies she had forgotten, travel to places she had always dreamed of, meet new friends, and build a life that she truly wanted to live. The next day, Emily began her new journey. She enrolled in an art class where she could express herself through painting. Each brushstroke on the canvas became a way for her to release pent-up emotions, to rediscover joy in life. She also started attending support group meetings for those who had experienced heartbreak. There, she found companions, people who were also seeking light in the darkness. As time passed, Emily gradually realized that loving herself was not only a personal journey but also a part of connecting with those around her. She began to open her heart, sharing her stories and listening to others. Each conversation brought her valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and patience. One afternoon, while Emily was sitting in the park painting, she unexpectedly ran into David. This time, his eyes held no anger or despair. Instead, there was an unusual sense of peace. Emily, he said, his voice gentle, I'm so glad to see you. She looked at him, no longer feeling fear or tension. Thank you, she replied, I feel the same. They spoke naturally, without the wounds or resentment of the past. Emily realized that she had truly forgiven David, not for him, but for herself. I've learned so much during this time, she shared. I've learned to love myself and to live for myself. David nodded, his eyes reflecting understanding. So have I, he said. I've realized that love cannot be forced, but must come from freedom and respect.